Music is an art of sound, which stayed together with people through the history. It developed in every unique tribes and regions from the ancient period, and it represents their original cultures. And when they fused with the others, it gave birth to a new culture. There are many links between music around the world. This is strongly symbolizing that we are all connected and sharing some similarities even we are living in a different cultural environments. Also, it is working as an evidence to say music is reflecting people's historical background and their nationalities. In this program, two very different music from very different countries were chosen to be analyzed the link between them. There are Russian folksong and Ghanaian Highlife music. Calling the experts of each music, we will approach the essence of this music and its links between them. Здравствуйте, I'm Sofia from Russia. I'm here to explain you about musical elements used in the Russian folk song. To analyze a Russian folk song, the song called The Scarlet Cellophane was chosen for the example piece. This is a piece which was written in 1834 by Russian musician called Alexander Yegorovich Baramov. It is a song which sings about the daughter who is not interested of the marriage. Each phrases of the lyrics is singing about daughters and her mother's feeling about going marry someone. In nowadays, there are a wide range of meaning for the word Russian folk song because there are many genres in the Russian folk song. For example, lyrical poetic songs, which were sung in the rural area of Russia, the work song, and 19th to 20th century popular songs are all included in Russian folk song. It seems unusual that folk song includes many genres of music, but this is telling us that Russian music is having strong relationship with Russia's history. Because all of these music genres are embodying the political position and social environments of Russia for each periods of times. The Scarlet Cellophane belongs to the 19th century artistic popular song, which is also called as Russian romance. It is embodying the Russian society that started to be on the same level with other European countries in 19th century. For example, 1812's Napoleon invasion to Russia was a significant event which affected Russian folk song largely by encouraging the nationalistic characteristics of its work. And also it increased music piece which includes more Russian music elements. In The Scarlet Cellophane, both characteristics of Russian music and Western music is highly collaborating and fused together. This is a table which shows the musical elements used in The Scarlet Cellophane. From these points, there are few points that it is showing strong characteristics of Russian folk song and Western music. The first example is the harmony and tonality used in this piece. Use of 6 chord in the piece is a significant example of Russian folk song. The 6 chord used here is working as the Burroughs chord. Burroughs chord is quite similar to the modulation in the points of going out from the original tone scale, but the purpose and effects are different. Burroughs chord is used for making an accent or for making theoretically impossible connection between the chords, and the characteristics of Burroughs chord is that it always assumes for the original scale and come back to the tonal pattern. For another point, this piece is also having modulation into relative minor key scale. is a characteristic of Russian folk song because Russian folk song is often written in minor scale. Melody is also a good example that shows the musical characteristics of Russian folk song. The diatonic melody used in this piece is showing the Western-influenced part because diatonic is Western musical elements. However, inside that rule, Alexander have succeeded to keep the Russian taste melody by beginning melody with the leap of minor 6. Adding to that, melody moving in stepwise motion, in other words conjunct motion, is contributing to direct the Russian folk song taste melody. It is because Russian music such as chastushka, which means the types of Russian folklore music, is also having conjunct motion often, which is contributing for the music to be lyrical. For the third point, the instrumentation in this piece is symbolistic musical elements of Russian folk song. This piece is using Russian traditional instruments. Besides the vocal which sings a slowly-like melody, high sound range balalaika are playing the harmonic part in 16 speeds, and bass or contrabass balalaika is playing bass line under that. Balalaika exists in 17th century in Russia, but it is not still clear. However, balalaika is a culture that had been developed by Russian wanderer groups and rural people. Therefore, we can say instrumentation is symbolistic musical elements of Russian folk song in this piece.
Hi, I'm Coffee from Ghana. I'm going to talk about African highlife music now. Nice to meet you all. Professor John Collins from the University of Ghana explains Ghanaian highlife music as one of the oldest popular dance music style of Africa, and it emerged in the 1880s, a fusion of rhythm of the West African coast and those from Europe, and black people from both South and North America. We can say Ghanaian highlife is a music which Ghanaian, Western, and South America, which mean jazz musical characteristic, fused together. The piece called 1914 are chosen as an example of Ghanaian highlife music which was composed around 50s to 60s and played by E.T. Menseh, who is famous Ghanaian trumpeter and his band. It is a whole instrumental piece, and it is structured by improvisation of solo trumpet, saxophone, guitar, and drum. This is a table which shows the musical elements used in 1914. From these points, there were some points that it is showing strong characteristics of Ghanaian highlife music, which is a fusion of Ghanaian music, Western music, and jazz music. The chord progression used in this musical work is using 4 basic chords: first, second, and fifth chord. The square below is showing the melody line and the bass line. This is clearly showing the effect of Western music in Ghanaian highlife music. According to that, we can confirm that fourth chord are also used in this song to replace the second chord, which has only one note difference between. These techniques used in the chord progression is getting strong influence from the Western music. However, there are African music influence techniques used too. For example, the harmony parts under the melody line is moving in parallel motion to melody with having fixed space between each other. We call this parallelism of the harmony as band process. The melody of this piece is having many musical techniques. Melody is diatonic, which means it's following the chord progression. However, when the soloist is playing the improvised melody, there is some chromatic scale used, which is a strong evidence of Ghanaian highlife music is containing South American jazz musical elements. However, it also contains Ghanaian musical elements, which is that melody is moving in conjunct motion. The melody of this music mostly moves in stepwise motion, and this can be said as Ghanaian or African music characteristics. Therefore, we can say the melody of this musical work is embodying the Ghanaian highlife music characteristics with both using jazz and Ghanaian musical elements.
Based on the musical characteristics of Russian folk song and Ghanaian highlife music, some links between these cultures were found. The first link discovered through this investigation was about the chord progression. Chord progression of first, second, and fifth were used in both musical pieces. Even though the chosen musical piece had more than 100-year time difference and regional difference, this basic and decisive chord progression have not changed. The reason why they have this similarity can be predicted as because Russian folk song and Ghanaian highlife music are both strongly influenced by the Western music. However, the difference is that the Scarlet Seraphim is using 6th chord in the chord progression. And on the other hand, 1914, which is a Ghanaian highlife music, is using the 4th chord. This is proving that the Scarlet Seraphim is classified in Russian Romance genre of music, and 1914 is a dance music. Which means the Scarlet Seraphim is increasing its range of expression by using minor chord, but 1940 didn't and only used 4th chord as a replacement for the 2nd chord. Nevertheless, we can still say they are linked between these two musical pieces through chord progression because they are using main chords of 1st, 2nd, and 5th. The second link is a link about the melody line. The melody of the both musical pieces was very similar in 3 points. First is that point melodies begin with the leap of minor 6. In the Scarlet Seraphim, which is written in D flat major, the melody starts with leap between A flat to F flat. And in 1914, which is written in G major, the melody starts with the leap between D to B. This technique used in both melody is contributing to strengthen the lyrical expression of the melody. Second point is where both melodies are diatonic and tonal. Both music melodies were always tonal to the bass line and chorus, but the scale used in the melodies were diatonic. As it mentioned before, the scale of the Scarlet Seraphim was D flat major, and 1914 was G major. The third point is where the melodies are moving in the conjunct motion. Conjunct motion is a technique to make the melody move in stepwise motion, and the Renaissance melodies are generally characterized by this technique. From these 3 points, we can say the melody of these two pieces are very similar. After the examinations of analyzing the two musical works, it has been validated that these pieces have links in their chord progression and their melodies. This remained as the possibility that Russian folk song and Ghanaian highlife music culture have more links between them. However, there were more differences compared to the links found from these pieces. We can say Russian folk songs seem to be more conventional compared to Ghanaian highlife music, which holds more improvised melody and percussive parts. Nevertheless, we should say there are strong links between Russian folk song and Ghanaian highlife music because there were more small links between them that we weren't able to introduce here. For example, the fixed rhythm in 4/4 was also a similarity between the musical piece we analyzed. Also, the instrumentation was the musical elements which both pieces have expressed their original culture remarkably. Russian folk song and Ghanaian highlife music seem to be very different, but several links have found through the investigation. Music proves our connection between each others. Music being the evidence that we can correlate each other and the possibility that we can make new things by linking together as a human. That's what we should learn from the music and the future we should create.